Welcome to Spotlight. I'm here at the 19th District Court with Chief Judge Salamey, who is running unopposed for the second term as the Chief Judge for the 19th District Court in Dearborn. Welcome, and it's great to have you today, Judge Salamey.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad that you were able to make it. We always welcome people to come to our 19th District Court and to tour the court and watch the court in action, and also give the audience an overview of what we do here at the 19th District Court in Dearborn.
Thank you, and how are you today?
I'm doing well, and I hope that you are too.
Thank you, thank you. I know you have held many positions, and you have spent more of your working life as a lawyer, as a magistrate, and as a judge. Did you aspire to be a lawyer when you were growing up?
Well, it's an interesting story of sorts. Of course, I came to the United States when I was 15 years of age, and as soon as I landed here, of course, I came before my family, about a year before my family joined me, and then, of course, when the rest of the family came, we lived in the south end of town on Rural Street in Dearborn. Mm-hmm. And of course, I immediately, like any immigrant family, of course, the economic concerns were paramount at the time. And then I immediately resorted to work in order to support myself and also to help and assist my father in the support of the family. And how I became interested in pursuing a career in law. Of course, at the age of 15, I worked as a clerk at a grocery store. My uncle, the one who petitioned for us to come to the United States, owned a grocery store in East Dearborn on Wyoming Street, and I immediately started working for him. And he, of course, assisted me and the family a lot. And my first gainful job was a job with the Dearborn Police Department in a civilian capacity as a community police liaison.
Yes.
And I happened to work with a sergeant from Dearborn Police by the name of Dale Ostertag. Mm-hmm. And Dale, in addition to being a police sergeant at the time, he was also going to law school. Mm-hmm. And on many nights when I was driving with him, driving the beats with him, we would talk about different legal issues, and that triggered my interest in law. Of course, after working for the Dearborn Police Department for 2 years, I took a job with the Dearborn Board of Education as a vocational technician at Fortson High School. Mm-hmm. And during that period of time, Eastern Michigan University offered scholarships for people who wanted to pursue a career in education. At the time, I was working with one of my best friends, the late Ahmed Fadlallah, God bless his soul, who passed prematurely. And me and Ahmed Fadlallah, we were working at Fortson High School, and then we got the scholarship to go to Eastern Michigan mm-hmm. University. And Ahmed chose to go to education, and he eventually became the principal of Fortson High School, and he made great positive changes in the culture at Fortson High School. And then I chose to go to law school. I declined the scholarship with Eastern Michigan University, and I went to law school.
So you took a different route.
I took a different route, yes. And I graduated as a lawyer, and then I became a lawyer, and that's how my interest in the law started.
Yes.
Back then.
But coming here at the age of 15 and having this big responsibility, did that attribute to who you are today?
Of course, our experiences in life shapes our character, shapes our worldview, and gives each person a distinct and a peculiar perspective about life in general. And of course, the period of time, the hardships, the economic hardships, and also the other hardships that any young immigrant family faces plays a pivotal role in shaping your opinion and your character. And it defines who you are and how you can overcome the obstacles. And if I was about to tell any, of course, we have a great generation of educated young men and women now, and there's a huge focus on education and a huge emphasis on education. And in my opinion, it all starts at home. And I'm glad that the community has basically improved and enhanced itself economically, and now its focus is in yes. the right place on education.
Yes, and what is the most challenging part of your journey?
Well, I tell you, when I first started college, Fairlane Town Center in Dearborn wasn't even in existence at the time. And in order for me to go to college, I couldn't afford to buy a car at the time. So I would take a bus from South End Dearborn to Michigan and Schaefer. Then I will take a second bus from Michigan and Schaefer to where Fairlane is today.
Yeah.
And then from there, I had to walk in the dead of winter.
And we don't have a nice weather at all
here. In the dead of winter, and we used to have much harsher winters than we had in recent years. Then I had to walk from there to Henry Ford College in order for me to pursue college. So it wasn't an easy trip.
That's very tough.
It was, now I reflect back on it and I say it was not only a very tough experience, but it was also a rewarding experience because it shaped my character. It made me feel that if you put your mind to it and if you have the willpower, then you'll be able to overcome those difficulties and those challenges.
Absolutely, and I'm sure you have mentors or individuals that helped you along the way and maybe opened doors for you. Tell me about that.
Well, I would start with my uncle who really did a lot for us when we first came. And then, of course, as I mentioned, Sergeant Ostertag, who really opened my eyes to a law career. And then, of course, my tenure at Fordson and the companionship I had. And I was in and around people who aspired to do better in their lives, as I mentioned, my late friend, Ahmad Fadlallah. And of course, my father is not formally educated in either Arabic or English, and up until today he can't speak English. He can just probably he knows words here and there, but to him, education was paramount, and that's why everyone in my family became educated. My youngest brother, Muhammad, is a very, very successful doctor. He graduated from University of Michigan Medical School, and today he is the chief executive officer of a physician physician management company, and he has around 300 doctors under his own supervision.
Nice. So you have doctors and lawyers, and
of course my middle brother Ali he is the business arm of the family, and he's he runs the business.
That's nice.
So we complement each other, and to my father and to my mother, education was number one, and they instilled that in us, and alhamdulillah,
that's good.
We're very successful.
I want to ask you about transitioning from being like an advocate, as a lawyer, an advocate, to fight for clients and to become a referee.
Well,
how is that like?
And that also, again, life experiences and work experiences become very essential in shaping your views and attitudes and the way you look at the job. Of course, when I first graduated from law school and I took the bar exam, and then I started practicing with the late Michael Berry, another person who profoundly touched my life.
He was one of your mentors,
and
obviously.
He was my mentor,
yeah.
And he was my law partner, and he taught me and he helped me along the way. So I started working with his firm, and that's where I made my bones as a young lawyer. And of course, during that period of time, I served as a prosecuting attorney for two municipalities, for the city of Romulus and for the city of Garden City for a number of years. And you are on the, as a prosecutor, you are on the other side of the aisle as opposed to a defense, on the defense side. And in my private practice, I've also defended many clients. I did some criminal defense work. So I had the experience and I had the opportunity to be on both sides of the aisle, so to speak. So you gain a perspective, and you know that as a prosecutor, you have to be the engine for the truth. Your interest should not be in getting convictions as much as in serving justice and making sure that the defendant's rights are protected, but also that the defendants have to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Yeah. So you have that dichotomy that you have to balance in your conscience, in your approach, in your addressing the cases, and looking at the evidence. You have to keep both. You have to keep that in mind. And then, of course, I worked as a defense attorney. And I also served the 19th District Court as a judicial magistrate.
This is what I want to ask you
I was
for
appointed,
15 years. That's
I was appointed to the bench in 1993.
Yeah.
and I served the court as a judicial magistrate for 14 years, and that's what triggered my interest. And from serving as a magistrate, I aspired to become a judge one day, and it was a promise and a commitment that I fulfilled. And in 2012, I want to take this opportunity to thank the voters of the city of Dearborn who gave me a fair consideration and who gave me their confidence and trust to be a judge in my town, Dearborn. And by the way, as I stated, I came here when I was 15 years of age, and for my entire life, I've settled in the city of Dearborn. I lived.
You never left
no,
Dearborn?
For only a brief period of time, which was like almost less than a year. I lived in Dearborn Heights, just across Gully.
And you couldn't leave anymore.
And I tell you right now, even when I leave Dearborn for even a relatively short period of time, I miss it. It's home for me.
It's a home, and it's a part of you, obviously.
Yes, it is a part of me.
Yeah.
I came here at 15. Now, I'm not shy to disclose my age. I'm knocking on 60. And
I'm not going to ask you.
So I've resided in this town.
You guys do the math.
I've resided in this town for my entire life, since I got here.
Sure. I want to go back to 2012 when you were Dearborn's first Arab judge. And even Mayor Jack O'Reilly said this is the best day for Dearborn, I believe. And how did you feel at that moment?
Well, it's always a very rewarding moment when you work hard, when you go out and interact with people, when you talk to people, you hear their concerns and you address those concerns, and you're honest and you're sincere, and they treat you in kind. And then you work hard, you walk the streets, you knock on the doors, and then at come election day, you see these results coming in, and you are excited, and you have not only fulfilled a dream and aspiration and a goal that you have set for yourself, but also the fact that you feel that people trust you, and the people that you interacted with came to your support, and they believed in you. That's a great thing. Is people's confidence and trust, and that is a treasure. And that is a great accomplishment for any human being.
I think it's an amazing accomplishment because people or voters at that time, they passed your ethnicity and they passed where you came from, and they voted for you for your qualifications.
If you look, when I look back at it, and I ran against an incumbent judge, and I was an Arab American, and a lot of people, that I talked with, they of course. Almost everyone knew that I'm Arab American, and but this is another time where I want to take this opportunity to thank all of the voters of the city of Dearborn, all of Dearborn's 98,753 residents, in fact, and it's 62,000 voters, because everyone that I interacted with, the people who voted for me, 18,500 at the time versus 14,000 for my opponent. It was a landslide victory. And people are open-minded, people are fair, people are reasonable, people are willing to give you a fair consideration, and they are willing to look at your credentials, at your qualifications, at your experience, at your background, and they are willing to make a fair decision, and they are giving you the confidence, and I hope that I have fulfilled that confidence, and I feel that I have, because come today, 2018, of course, a judge's term is 6 years. Now I'm running for re-election, and I'm running unopposed. I believe that is a testament by the great people of the city of Dearborn to say, we are happy with the job that you're doing, and even the people who probably opposed me in 2012 are saying, no, we see that he is doing a good job, and nobody came forward to run against me. So that is something I take a great pride in, and I also take a great pride in being a part of this town and part of this community. And again, I want to thank the voters for the confidence that they've given me, and I promised them then, and I will promise them now, that I will continue to do my job. I will continue to uphold the laws, and I will continue to decide each case on its own merits without bias, prejudice, or favor.
Yes, well, you are known, people describe you as being a fair and trustworthy judge. And I want to ask you, is that why the decision that you are making today for running again? What made you decide to run again? Don't you want maybe a break?
Well, first of all, I love what I do, and it is a privilege to serve. And it is, for me, a greater privilege that I happen to be serving my own hometown, my own Dearborn community.
That's a blessing.
My own Dearborn community, and that's something that I've always aspired to do and I've always wanted to do. Even before I was elected a judge, I volunteered for so many organizations. One in particular, I was a member of the Dearborn Board of Ethics, and my fellow members on the board elected me a chairman of the Board of Ethics. I served for a number of years, and I also served in many capacities. I served with the Lebanese American Heritage Club, a very, very fine institution. It's perhaps one of the most generous institutions when it comes to promoting and encouraging higher education. And to this date, we have given more than $1.5 million in scholarships to deserving students from all walks of life. And it is an organization that assists Lebanese Americans and Arab Americans in assimilating into the American mainstream, and to make them and assist them in integrating into the fabric of this society and of this community. Yeah. And we've done many great things.
When do you have the time to do all this?
Well, you know what? Sometimes I wonder where I find the time, but
you do find the time.
but I do, and I've always said, wherever there is a will, there is a way. Absolutely. And sometimes I run about 16, 17-hour days.
Do you get to sleep at all?
Somehow I think that there is an inner strength, that there is a power within ourselves that is stronger than us, and it keeps us going, especially if it is something that you enjoy doing, and the satisfaction, the self-satisfaction that you get from knowing that you were able to do a good deed, you were able to help someone or to assist someone or make someone else's life a little easier.
That's very rewarding.
That's rewarding, and that gives you the energy, and it gives you the incentive to keep going and to do more as you go along.
What do you like to see accomplished in the 19th district that has not been accomplished yet?
Well, I tell you, when I was elected a judge, and then I was selected by the Supreme Court to serve as a chief judge of the Dearborn Court. I would say in an unfortunate way, when I came to this court, there were so many issues, so many problems.
When you first came to the
right. The judges who were sitting at the time, they had some personal issues, and they made those personal issues work issues, which is a no-no in my dictionary. You have to leave all the problems outside.
You separate
are
them,
here,
for sure.
Absolutely. You are here to serve the people. You are here to fulfill the role that the voters elected you to fulfill. And you have to keep all these other issues separate. Unfortunately, this was not the case. And instead of having 3 judges in one court, it was as if we had 3 different courts in one building. And there were lawsuits, there were employee morale was not at its best, and there were budget issues whereby the court was depending a lot on the taxpayers to finance the court's operation.
So how do you reduce the...
So when I came here, we put a plan together. I hired a new court administrator, and we put a plan together, and we looked at the issues, at the problems. We identified what the issues are, what the problems are, and we came up with a plan to basically correct and repair all these areas that they needed to be improved and enhanced. We made some changes. We looked at statistics. We looked at other courts. We improved the state of the work environment. We improved the status of the court employees and staff.
And the budget, to balance the budget.
And we were able, of course, courts are not in the business of generating revenues. Yes. Courts are in the business of the fair administration of justice and serving the people and serving the public and upholding our laws. But part of this, a deterrence to crime would be to assess fines and costs. And in some cases, the fines and costs that were assessed were not really sending the message across to the violators, to the offenders. So we worked on that. And also we improved the collection methods of the courts. So many fines and costs are assessed were not being collected properly, and they were not being, in some cases, collected at all. So we improved the collection methods. So these are not new fines and costs that we assessed, but these are fines and costs that were assessed and that were not being collected. So we improved that. So now instead of the court being a burden on the taxpayers, to the contrary, the court is not only generating enough revenues from the fines and costs to sustain its own operations at a very reasonable level, but it also has resulted in excess money that goes to the funding unit, that goes to the city of Dearborn for its own operations.
So this is the most effective method of improving the court procedures?
Then we compile the statistics to show that our employees were overworked, and to an extent they were underpaid a little bit.
Okay.
And when we compare the caseload, by the way, the 19th District Court is one of the busiest district courts in this entire area. The court processes anywhere from 65,000 to 70,000 cases a year.
Is it over 3 decades? I was reading about the court.
Yes, it's a very busy court, and because perhaps of the strategic location of the city of Dearborn, we are adjacent to the largest city in Wayne County, city of Detroit, and then all the suburbs to the west of us. So it's strategically located, and Dearborn has many amenities that other people from other communities come to town. And you know what? When you have a lot of people coming and transiting through the town, things do happen. And we have a lot of businesses, and sometimes issues happen. Like with Fairlane Town Center, for example, we have shopliftings that occur. We have sometimes trespassings. We have some, other issues that come with the businesses. So the court is a very busy court, and then our employees were processing more cases per employee than every single other court around us.
Wow, that's amazing.
And so we looked at their salaries. Absolutely. So we looked at their salaries. We tried to do good for them, and the people feel that they are putting in a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. Then they tend to have a better morale, and
they accomplish more.
Exactly, and they accomplish more, and they do a better job. So we did that, and we balanced the court's budget. The court's budget is balanced, and it results in some.
And it's been balanced for a while. Obviously.
Absolutely, since I got here, it took us 1 year. Actually, starting with my second year, the budget was not only balanced, but it resulted in additional monies that were paid into the funding unit.
And as far as new ways to streamlining.
And another thing that I made sure of is that the waiting time. I cannot tolerate lines. If people come into this court, everybody here is here to serve those people.
Do you get complaints at all?
Every court gets complaints, but we made a point of reducing the waiting time to the bare minimum. So right now, we don't have lines. People come in, they are immediately served, and of course, so serving the people became one of the major objectives. And since my administration,
for sure.
Absolutely, since my administration started, we have done a wonderful job with that. People come in, they are immediately attended to, they are immediately served. We make sure that the judges take the bench on time. So we hear complaints from people about other courts that they have to wait. Even attorneys. If you survey the attorneys that come to this court, if you survey the people that come to this court,
Well, you seem like you have a great court running here.
Yes, one of the first things that they say, you know what, we go to Dearborn, we are immediately served, we don't have to wait. The only time they have to wait, of course, if we have, a full courtroom and it's a heavy, busy docket, but they are in court and the judge is not sitting somewhere and they're waiting. The judge is right there in the courtroom attending to his or her business, and
that's great.
And we take a pride in that.
Yeah.
I think we have improved the court's operation in every single aspect, from collections to budgeting to employees' state and conditions to morale. Thank God, before I got here, the court was embroiled in many civil lawsuits and in many disputes. So thank God, since I arrived here, there has not been any lawsuit. There hasn't been any employees, disgruntling.
So a lot of improvements.
So we have made good on every promise we made, and we are running a very efficient court.
So when you are elected, what changes would you like to advocate more than what you have mentioned right now, and why?
Well,
what would you like to see?
I would say that there is always room for improvement. There's always opportunities and room to reduce cost, to increase the efficiency, to make sure that we are attending to those areas where we need to attend to, where we can avoid delays.
Yeah.
And so we will continue to look at these areas, and we have periodic reviews. And the Supreme Court also runs what they call performance operation measures. And if and they compile these statistics, and they will point out to each single court if there are areas that need to be improved.
Okay.
So we have some areas that still require some work, and we are working on those. We're trying to come up with solutions and to improvise,
especially with technology now, you have to be really up to date on that.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yes.
Because one of the plans that we're working on is basically to increase efficiency through the use of available technologies and of
to make it easier
improved
for
technologies
people.
like e-filing, for example. And the Supreme Court and the State of Michigan Court Administrator's Office, they started a e-filing project. So that is being worked on, and we're trying to incorporate as much technology as we possibly can, and as these technologies improves in efficiency and in reducing the time to wait and the time to process cases, we are providing training to our employees on a regular basis, and we are also trying to incorporate as much technology as possible.
Great. I want to talk to you about, drug overdose is one of the leading cause of death in the U.S. And now the misuse of opioid, such as, prescribed pain medicine, morphine and all that is one of the national serious problem. How can the judiciary actually play a role in addressing this epidemic?
Well, of course, the court can play a very important role in the opioids epidemic that we are witnessing. Unfortunately,
and it's heading home.
It is definitely heading home, and we see that this is a twofold problem. One serious fault is the prescription drugs and the misuse of the prescription drugs, which has become an epidemic. Now, the court usually doesn't get involved in that unless there's a court case. Unless there is a court case that is before the court cannot go out and do things, except the court can get involved and get engaged, seriously engaged with the community to educate the people.
Like awareness.
And exactly, to create awareness, to educate the people, and to also try to transmit a message to the youth and to the what will happen to them and to their future if they become involved in drugs. So from the educational standpoint, we go out to the high schools, and we also celebrate Law Day in our court. So May 1st, as you may know, is designated as Law Day. So we bring in the students from the high schools, from the Dearborn high schools, and they sit in the courtrooms and they witness, and we try on purpose to process and to address as many drug-related cases as possible, so the students can get a flavor of what happens to a person when they become involved with drugs.
So important.
And we try to, address those defendants when the students are here and talk to them about the consequences, not only in terms of health consequences, but also employment consequences and long-term future problems that they will develop and they will have from drugs.
Yeah.
That's on the educational side. Recently, Judge Summers and I we go to seminars. One was put on by the Access by the Arab Community Center. One was put on by the Islamic Center of America.
A lot of organizations now
so
are
we
addressing
do take time to be out there in the community to educate and to explain to people about the cases and the nature of the cases that we have in court and the nature of the sentences that are that the defendants have to face if they become involved in a drug problem.
So, in order to fight this epidemic, we can't bring those drug makers to court. Can't do that.
Well, again, you can't bring the drug makers, you can't bring the doctors or the pharmacists. However, if there are irregularities whereby we have active police departments and if they receive complaints, they are very thorough and they investigate these complaints. And if there are any illegalities or any laws that are being violated, whether it's by a doctor or a pharmacist or, they are immediately brought to justice. And also with students or with the youth that are out there, if anything happens in the school, again, we have very active school administrations. They file complaints with the police department. These complaints are approved by the district attorneys, and then they're brought to the court. And we try to address those cases. And we are out there in the community trying to do as much education, as much awareness as possible. And but if there is a court case, the way we deal with these people, we focus. At least the philosophy in this court is to focus on rehabilitation other than punishment and incarceration.
Yes.
But of course, incarceration and punishment is a very useful tool and very useful deterrent for a person who is going to ignore the fact that he has a drug problem and he violates. So if it's a first-time offender, we give them an opportunity to be rehabilitated. If it's a second-time offender, we say, okay, you know what? We're going to order you to serve jail time. However, you go to jail, we are allowing you to be immediately released to a treatment program to be discharged upon full recovery.
So you give them like some kind of alternative?
So basically, you go to jail. If you choose to just not go to a treatment program, then you can stay in jail. But if you choose to go to a treatment program, you'll be given that opportunity. So you will go to jail to be immediately released to a treatment program, and you'll be discharged upon full recovery.
Yeah, which is a great way of approaching
exactly.
this.
So that gives them a way to reflect on what they've done and to go to a treatment program and hopefully get rid of the problem.
Yes.
And and there is a lot of gray area in the law right now, especially with the use of marijuana. As you may know, in Michigan, we have the Michigan Medical Marijuana Card, which allows people to obtain the permit or the permission to use marijuana if they are using it for medicinal purposes for a particular illness. But they must use it in accordance with the law. They must use it in the required doses.
If they use it.
And if there are violations, then they will be punished.
Yeah.
So that area is creating a little bit of a gray area in the law. But as far as I'm concerned, my philosophy is, again, even if you have a medical marijuana card, if you are not strictly adhering to the medicinal purposes and to the required doses, and you are going to violate that, I'm not going to allow you to use it, even if you have the medical marijuana card during the time that you are on probation. And I'm going to send you to a treatment program, and I'm going to order you to submit to random drug and alcohol screens while you are on probation. And if you violate at any time, you're going to have to deal with the consequences.
How do you monitor this?
Well, it's very simple. When people use drugs, it's not out of their system immediately. And when they are on probation, they come here, and I ask them right there, I said, when was the last time you used drugs? And if they say, I haven't used it or whatever it is, I say, okay, I'm going to get you tested right now, and if you come back negative, all is well. If you come back positive, then you are going to deal with the consequences.
Okay. Yeah.
Then we will extend their probation. We order them to do time on the work program. We order them to pay additional fines and costs. And in some cases, Actually, if we feel that they are disregarding the court's orders, I will order them, as I indicated, to serve a jail time, to be released to a treatment program. If they choose to stay in jail, that's their own call. And if they choose to go to a treatment program, I will tell you that in Wayne County we have so many available resources and so many available facilities to take these people, to rehabilitate them, to make them useful members of society. But it all has to start with them.
Yes.
They have to make an affirmative decision on their part to say, you know what, I have a drug problem. I'm being given the tools, and I'm being afforded and availed the resources to get rid of this problem.
Yes.
If they act on that and they get rid of the problem, everybody else is better off.
Absolutely.
And if they decide to continue to sink in this drug use hole, then they have no one to blame but themselves.
Yes, those are very valuable information, really. And we want to go back to the community, like giving back to the community is a way of showing sense of appreciation. And we see you, like I see you in every event, and I see your involvement and you're caring about this community, and you serve in the community, which is really great. Tell me about that. Tell me about Dearborn.
Well, you know, to be human beings are social animals, basically, and unless you unless you feel with the people and you interact with them and you get seriously engaged with the community's affair, and I mean, anyone can just go to work, earn a paycheck, close the door after they get home, close the door on themselves, and just relax and kick back. But if that happens, then we will become isolated. We will become, each to his own. The sense of community is really important for any community to survive and to improve and to move to progress and to move ahead. And I think each one of us owes an obligation to the others around him to try to do whatever is within your power and whatever you are able to do to make someone else's life better, easier, to help. I think it's in my nature that, if I can be someone that can help others and can have that sense of collective efforts to make something work better, to make people's lives easier, it makes me feel better about myself.
And that's what makes a great leader for the community.
I volunteered for so many organizations. I get that reward of self-satisfaction when I feel that I've made a positive change in the community. And I've always said, serving is a privilege. And when people trust you and they put you in that position, the least that you can do is basically do what they anticipate that you are capable of doing.
Yes.
I mean, I don't believe that anyone can ask people to do more than what they are able to give out. But
it has to come from the heart.
Yeah, but I think each one of us has enough energy to do enough to make the entire community a better place, a safer place, a more pleasant place to be in.
Yes.
And so, volunteering has always been a part of my character, been a part of my orientation, and that's why I'm involved with so many organizations, and I'm out there in the community doing all I can to try to be a useful member of society and to interact with others and to be aware of what concerns, because anything can hit anyone at any time.
Yes.
And no one can say I'm insulated from, if there is corruption in society, no one can say that I can insulate myself and my family. You may be able to insulate yourself if you are mature enough and if you are strong enough and if you are knowledgeable enough. But can you insulate your children? They have to go to school. They have to go to workplaces. They are at an age where they're not mature enough. So you want to make sure that the schools are better because that's where your kids are. You want to make sure that the playground is better because that's where they go, and those vulnerable children and youth are out there. So you can't insulate yourself. You can't live on an island.
And actually, you are a great model for your kids. when you do that, when you see you doing all of this,
absolutely,
they will do the same thing.
Because, like I say, you know, the best tool to teach anyone anything would be hands-on experience, and to be their role model. And you know, as you know, monkey see, monkey do.
Yes.
Your children see you out there doing volunteer work, doing this, and they ask. Children have a curious nature. Why are you doing this? If they're not paying you, why are you doing it for free? And then if you give them the right answers and you show them that there is a benefit and it doesn't have always to be financial benefit,
you pass it on.
Then you pass it on. This is a legacy, and this is a traditions and customs and values that we have to pass on to the next generation.
And we like you to keep up the good work. It's amazing what you do, actually. And my last actually question to you today about what advice would you give to the new generation who are seeking law school?
Well, law is an honorable profession, and you may hear a lot that there are a surplus of attorneys out there, and there may be, and there may be a surplus of doctors or pharmacists, but I always say to people, follow your passion. Follow what you like to do, not what someone else wants you to do. And I know, especially in our Middle Eastern culture, every parent wants his son or daughter to be a doctor or a pharmacist or an engineer. The world is more than that, is wider than that, is larger than that. And as the old cliche goes, it takes all kinds of people to make the world turns, right? So I would say that the most miserable thing that you can do to yourself is drag yourself out of bed every morning and go somewhere for 8 or 9 hours to do something that you don't like to do, because one, you're going to make everybody around you miserable, and you are not going to be you're not going to be able to excel at something you don't like to do. But if you have the passion to do something, if you like to do it, and you go into it and you give it that passion and you give it the time that is required, you will find that you will be able to excel at the thing that you do. And not only that, you're a happy person and you make everyone around you happier. And that's when you are at your best as a human. You are more productive when you are doing something that you like to do, not you are being pushed to do. Because I can imagine a person doing something or majoring in something and then realizes that this is not what they want to do. They go to work and they'd be looking at their watch every 5 minutes to make sure that the day is gonna, go by. And it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. Sometimes, I lose myself between the files and the papers. By the time I look at my watch, I look at my watch and it's 6 o'clock. I say, "Oh my God!"
That's the way to go. That's what I love to hear.
But that's the way it is. I mean, people have passions. They have an interest. They feel that there is a sense of direction that they want to follow. And a lot of things along the way come in and interfere and may change your course, may cause you to deviate, maybe peer pressures, family pressures, financial pressures. But I say at the end of the day, you are the person who has to look at yourself in the mirror every day, and you are the person who is going to do the job every day. So do something that you like to do.
Absolutely. That's a very good advice, and I can relate to that. I want to thank you, Judge Sam Salamey, and I wish you the best of luck. I mean, you've been doing a great job, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That's a good advice, and I promise you that I will. And thank you for taking the time to do this interview. I really have enjoyed you being here, and
thank you.
We would love to have you tour the building.
Yes, I would love to do that right now.
Yes.
But before that, the voters or viewers, before you do anything, make sure you vote for the primary in August and the preliminary and for November.
Even though I'm running unopposed, I like to know that people out there are going to go out and vote. Number one, because we have a lot of important elections coming up. We have the gubernatorial race, we have the midterm elections, we have school board elections, and school board is very important for the city. We have representatives, we have state reps and state senators, so there are important elections. And even though I'm running unopposed, I still like to get your vote to know that I'm doing a good job, number one. And number two, I want everybody to remain active and involved in the decision-making process, because that is the way that we can sustain our democracy
Yes.
and our way of life. And so make sure that on August 7th, you go out and you vote in the primary, and then on November 6th,
The
go
general,
out and vote in the general election.
Yes,
That is very important.
Make sure you keep your
Thank you.
voice heard. And thank you
Thank you
very
for
much.
mentioning that.
Thank
Of
you.
course.
And this is the Hanan Skaf, and thank you for watching.